Imagine a world where the very sound you make to say hello was dictated by a single genetic mutation, a silent switch flipped deep in your DNA long before you could even blink. For decades, we thought language was just a cultural accident, a fire we lit, and a tool we built. But new research from Rockefeller University and beyond is shattering that illusion, revealing a biological blueprint for speech embedded in our ancient history. We are about to uncover the surprising genetic key that unlocked the door to human-spoken communication, a discovery that connects the evolution of our brains directly to the evolution of our voices. By the end of this video, you will understand how one specific gene variant might have been the catalyst for everything from Neanderthal silence to our modern ability to discuss complex ideas in real time. This isn't just history, it's the hidden story of what makes us human. The story begins not with a vocabulary, but with a protein. Researchers at Rockefeller University have been digging into the debate surrounding how we got here, and they found something incredibly specific. It starts with a single amino acid change within a single gene, a tiny alteration that had massive ripple effects throughout our evolutionary history. This wasn't just a random tweak. It was the foundation for more complex vocal communication, the very stuff of spoken language as we know it. But how does a microscopic shift in code translate to millions of years of speech evolution? It turns out this genetic change allowed for novel ways of communicating that previous species simply couldn't achieve with their existing vocal apparatus. Think about it like this. Imagine a musical instrument that suddenly gains a new string, or even better, a mechanism that allows you to control the pitch in a way your ancestors never could. That is essentially what this gene did. It didn't just make us louder, it made our speech more precise and nuanced. The study suggests that this specific protein variant found only in humans was the missing link in the chain of evolution. It's the difference between a language barrier and a bridge, allowing different groups to share information with an efficiency that drove our species forward. Without this genetic spark, we might still be communicating through grunts and gestures, but instead, we got words, sentences, and eventually, entire civilizations built on them. Now, let's zoom in further because the specific gene at play here is nothing short of fascinating. It is called Nova1, which codes for a protein known as neuro-oncological ventral antigen 1 or Nova1. This isn't just any protein. It is deeply associated with the shift that defined our linguistic capabilities. While other genes and environmental factors certainly played a role in the emergence of complex speech, Nova1 sits at the center of this story like a lighthouse in a storm. The research indicates that all the changes we see in modern human vocalization are tied directly to the function of this protein. Here is where it gets really interesting, because it challenges our understanding of what drives evolution. We often look for massive brain expansions or huge physical changes to explain new behaviors, but Nova1 shows us that a more subtle shift can have profound consequences. This gene variant seems to be the primary driver behind the alteration necessary for complex vocal communication. It's like finding out that gravity itself changed slightly on Earth to allow birds to fly faster than they ever could before. The implications are staggering because it means our ability to speak fluently is not just a byproduct of brain size, but a direct result of this specific genetic pathway. But here's the kicker that really changes the game for how we view human history. New research published in Science Advances suggests these genetic sequences were already present before modern humans split from our common ancestor with Neanderthals. This discovery, coming from researchers at the University of Iowa Healthcare, completely upends the timeline we thought we had. It implies that the tools for complex language weren't invented just once by a single group in Africa and then spread outwards. Rather, the genetic capacity was there earlier, potentially shared across different hominin groups before the split occurred. This has huge implications for how we view the evolution of human migration and isolation. Long-term separation may actually preserve forms of linguistic variation that sustained contact tends to erase, suggesting a complex dance between biology and geography. If these genes were present in our common ancestor, it means the potential for language was a shared heritage, waiting to be expressed differently depending on where we lived and how we interacted with our environment. It blurs the line between what we consider human, and what our closest relatives possessed, suggesting that the spark of language was a gradual ignition rather than a sudden explosion. We are not just the children of Africa in this story. We are part of a much wider, ancient tapestry woven from genetic threads that stretch back further than we ever imagined. So, what does all this mean for us today? Well, it means that our most defining characteristic, our ability to talk, is rooted in biology far more deeply than pop culture suggests. It's a reminder that every time we form an idea and say it out loud, we are activating a biological miracle that took millions of years to develop through the lens of evolution. The fact that a single protein variant like Nova1 could influence the trajectory of our entire species' communication highlights how interconnected life is at its most fundamental level. There's also a fascinating angle here regarding isolation and variation. As we see in studies about migration patterns, the way these genes interact with our environment creates unique linguistic fingerprints across different populations. It explains why languages evolve so differently in isolated communities versus those that remain connected. Understanding this link between genetics and language gives us insight into how human diversity is maintained and preserved over millennia. It turns out that speaking a particular dialect isn't just about culture. It's also a reflection of our genetic history and where we've lived. The next time you have a conversation, remember that beneath those words lies the echo of ancient genes, shaping the very sounds we use to connect with one another. So there you have it. From a single amino acid change in a gene called Nova1 to the shared genetic roots stretching back before our split from Neanderthals, the link between human biology and language is far more profound than we ever dreamed. It's a story of how nature provided the hardware for speech that allowed us to build everything we are today. Science is constantly uncovering these hidden threads, reminding us that even our most complex traits have humble biological beginnings. If you found this deep dive into the genetics of language fascinating, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next video, where we'll explore how these ancient genes still influence our daily lives in surprising ways. Drop a comment below with your theory on what comes next for human evolution. We read every single one. Thanks for watching, and keep questioning the world around you.